In this episode of Police Interviews, we discuss a burglary investigation in which a police officer listens to his inner voice and avoids danger by following his instincts. And we talk about how to apply this experience in your own life and embrace the concept of it's okay to walk away. Police Interviews, the podcast that examines all areas of law enforcement, including recounting officers' experiences, career advice for future officers, and street survival for civilians. Practical advice for staying safe in a dangerous world. So sit back, fasten your seatbelt, and get ready for this episode of Police Interviews. About 30 years ago, I was employed by a very large police department. The areas I was assigned to patrol were very large and very rural. There were only a couple of cops assigned to that area. We would frequently go to calls alone, and that was just the way we did things. Now, one day I was assigned to investigate a burglary alarm. Now, a burglary alarm is a felony in progress because someone's breaking into someone's house. Now, usually it's not really a burglary that's occurring. It's something like the dog tripped something and made the alarm go off. The wind against a window might make an alarm go off. Any number of things that are just explainable and just perfectly natural part of life that could make an alarm go off because it's maybe a little too sensitive. So I went. It took me about 10 minutes to get there. It was this gigantic house. It was at this gigantic house. It was up a driveway that was probably 200 yards long. And I had never been to this residence before. When I got to the top of the driveway, the end of the driveway, there was this amazing house. It was sort of like a farmhouse with a wraparound porch, and it was 2 stories. It had a walkout basement around the back of the house. So it was not only expansive, it was probably about 3,000 square feet. It was really beautiful. So I get out of my car, go up to the front door, take a look around, check the doors, see if there's any signs of anybody entering or anything that might be amiss. And I don't see anything. I listen, and it's a beautiful day. You know, it was probably about 75 degrees, a little breezy. And I thought that maybe the breeze might have kicked up a little bit, maybe moved one of the windows a little bit and set the alarm off. I was wrong. So I looked around to the back of the house to where the walkout basement was, and it had 2 giant sliding glass doors, and they were beautiful. And as I look in, I can see that the basement is finished. So I go to the door handle, the sliding glass door handle, and I pull it, and it's open. It slides right open. I look for signs of forced entry. There are none. So I think, well, maybe it's just an oversight of some sort that someone missed locking the door, and the door being unlocked and the alarm are a coincidence. Well, no, that's a little weird. An open door with an alarm, something doesn't feel right, something isn't right. Now, my backup is probably about 15 minutes away and most likely isn't heading this way. At the time, we didn't have portable radios or walkie-talkies, so I could call dispatch and say, I have an open door, I'm going to check around. So I got out of the car, I went into the basement, and like I said, it was finished. And there's a TV that's about the size of a Volkswagen. Now, this is the late 80s, and it was one of those rear screen projection TVs. At the time, it was probably $5,000 or $6,000. It was amazing. The finished portion of the basement was immaculate, just amazing. And I thought, wow, this is neat. So I stopped and I listened to see if there's any noise or anything, if I could detect a dog or a cat or something that might have set this off. And it was quiet. It was too quiet. And it's hard to really explain why I thought it was too quiet, but it really was. So I start walking to the other side of the basement to a stairway which led to the first floor of the house. And I start getting this feeling of discomfort inside and sort of a little bit of dread. Hard to explain, hard to really quantify or codify what it was, but something wasn't right. But I have to check this. It's my job. I'm a cop. I got to go do this. So I go toward the stairway and I start feeling more and more and more uncomfortable. Something isn't right. I'm getting this feeling and my skin's kind of crawling a little bit, like I'm getting goosebumps. And I'm thinking, wow, I still got to do this. So I get to the steps and I go up one step. I stop and I listen. Still too quiet. I move up another step and then the third. And then I get this overwhelming feeling It was almost a command voice. And what the command voice was said was, get out. And I did. I decided to say, all right, well, I got to listen to this. Why did I? Well, I don't know. I mean, at the time, you never back down. That was not the culture, and to a certain degree, it still isn't now. But something didn't feel right. This wasn't some sort of mental illness type of situation with me, but something told me to get out. And it wasn't G-E-T-O-U-T. It was a feeling to do that. It was a pushing me to get out of that residence. So I get out, and I go back to my car, which is in the front of the house. I get on the car radio, and ask for another vehicle to come that way, and that person was coming that way. Now, you can only cover so much of the house alone. You can only really get two sides. So I put myself in a position where I can see two sides of the house, and I listen. I'm very, very intently, but it's a little breezy. And it's funny when that feeling kind of lingered a little bit. Every little sound just was amplified. Just the breeze and the wind through the trees, and it was almost surreal to a certain degree. I almost didn't believe I was feeling that. The other officer arrived. I told him what the situation was, and I say, hey, let's go inside and take a look around. So we go back through the sliding glass door, go through the house on the first floor. Nothing seems amiss. Go to the second floor. I can still feel something, but I have backup with me. We have an advantage with two police officers, but still could be somebody upstairs in a position hiding on us. So we get upstairs, and I go into the master bedroom, which is gigantic. All of the contents of the bedroom bureau are on the bed, and the drawers from the bureau are thrown on the ground. It's been burglarized. A burglary occurred, and that's very common. People will take the drawers out of the bureau, dump them onto the bed because it's convenient and it's the right height. What happens is you can rifle through everything, and a lot of people put a lot of stuff in their bureau, and just to keep in the back of your head, probably don't want to do that, or put too many valuables in there, find another spot for them, or don't have them in the house. Looked around, found a contact number in a book, in a notebook that was on the kitchen table of the owner. Called him up, and they came out. The owner and his wife came out and did our investigation. Looked around the house a little bit more, and I said, is there anything he missed? He said, let me just check one more thing. He had a firearm safe, and it was open. Now, it wasn't broken into. He had left it unlocked, but there were 3 guns missing. So we had a burglary, and not only was it a burglary, it was a burglary that some firearms were taken. Were they in the house when I was there? I don't know. Was there some sort of residual feeling of that I picked up on somehow, we'll say psychically? I don't know. There was something. But something bad happened, and I sensed it. And I backed off. At that point, I thought of this phrase, it's okay to walk away. Because I got to the other side of the situation. If there was nobody inside, well, okay, there was never anybody inside. If there was somebody inside, they had their guns. So would that have turned into a gun battle? I don't know. No one got hurt. Eventually, the guns were recovered at a pawn shop in an adjoining state. I think the lesson to be taken away from this story is that you need to listen to your inner voice. It's okay to walk away. I took actions to get some help to investigate this problem, and I came to a conclusion which was successful in many different levels. And I always kept that in the back of my head, no matter what situation I was in. If I got some sort of feeling, I would follow that feeling and take appropriate action. Now, in our next segment, we're going to talk about the concept of it's okay to walk away and how you can apply that in your day-to-day life as a civilian or as a police officer. In the last segment, I recounted a police officer's experience in recognizing and utilizing his inner voice. He didn't retreat from his duty, but he repositioned himself to gain an advantage for his own safety. Was there any danger in that house? We don't know. I think there probably was, but either way, he prevailed and got to the other side of that situation without encountering any danger or without encountering any problem. In this segment of Civilian Street Survival, I want you to visualize yourself in the following scenario. And most importantly, visualize yourself succeeding and listening to your inner voice and listening to the strengths that you have. So picture this. You're at the mall or the big box store, and it's 9:10 at night in January. You're doing some Christmas returns. You go out into the parking lot, and someone's leaning against your car, or they're standing around your car. Now, this is suspicious. If you don't think it is, you're wrong. It's absolutely suspicious. If you don't know the person, it's clearly something that you probably want to, ask for some help with. The easiest solution to this is to turn around and go back in the store. And that's what I would do if I were you. Call the police department. If you're at a mall, call the security people. Security guards love this kind of stuff. They all want to be cops anyhow. And I'm not trying to disparage security guards, but a lot of people start their law enforcement careers as security guards. If you call the police department, the chances are they'll respond. And for a police officer, this is a pretty easy call usually. They'll probably talk to the person, ask for an identification, see if they're wanted or anything like that, and try to come to the bottom of this. It could be a perfectly innocuous reason why the person was around your car, but that doesn't matter. What matters is you go home and you don't put yourself in any danger. Remember, it's okay to walk away. I want you to modulate your attitude toward personal safety and be aware, be ready. If you feel that you might be in some sort of danger, you're probably right. Listen to your inner voice. Develop it as much as you can. And the 4 takeaways I want you to have from this in both scenarios is to listen to your inner voice. It may not be as dramatic as what the officer felt, but listen anyhow and act accordingly. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to call the police. A lot of people are kind of hesitant to call the police, but that's what they're there for. That's what you essentially pay their salary for. Visualize yourself succeeding. It works in sports. It works in any part of life, and it does in personal safety. And I've said it a bunch of times, and I'll say it again. It's okay to walk away, and make that your mantra from now on when you're thinking about your personal safety. That brings us to the end of our first podcast. Thank you very much for listening. We publish every Thursday. Each episode includes a police point of view on various issues, including news analysis and other officers' experiences. And we also have a segment on civilian street survival and advice. If you wish, you can contact us at policeinterviews@gmail.com. That's policeinnerviews@gmail.com. We also provide coaching for anyone who would like to enter the law enforcement profession. Contact us via email, and we'll send you some information on that and let everybody know that's interested that this is available. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more police interviews next Thursday.